What's up guys, welcome back to another video, hope you're all doing well today, and welcome to E Street, which is Kels's most recent release today on MXB Mods. And without even riding this track yet, I've seen nothing but positive things in the Discord. His last track that he made was, I think, one of the fan favourites. We've done it a hell of a lot in public lobbies, so I kind of expect the same of this, and Kels is one of them creators really at this point that you expect nothing but good things from, and I've seen people saying this could be his best work yet. So I'm very excited to do this. It's a sand track, so we're going to bust out the sand tyres and something a little bit different today that you'll see as soon as we get to the riding part. But let's get into it. Fingers crossed it lives up to its expectations, and I hope you enjoy. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So the difference that I mentioned at the start is I'm going to be riding the Enduro bike today. This is the Husqvarna 350, and you might be very confused as to why I've decided to do this. Main reason being is I'm really enjoying the overall feel of the bikes and their physics as a whole. These bikes go back to, I want to say, like the beta 15 or beta 16 days, when the bikes weren't too focused about realism and more for just having like a bit of fun and making something that goes fast and handles well. And for whatever reason, I'm really enjoying these. They seem to get a lot less weird front end tucky moments, and I've not really given them too much of a go outside of the enduro stuff. So I just want to kind of combine the two worlds today, see how they go. I tried the sand track on the like Dog Pound that JV released, the SX track, and it handled it really well. And I want to say that I haven't touched suspension at all. I've done is change the swing arm to 2 on this bike to make the bike feel a little bit longer. Is on that Supercross track, the way I hit the whoops on it, I barely like leant back or forwards at all. I stayed really central on the bike, and it felt so good. It's like the front wheel and back wheel was like clipping each and every whoop as you'd like to. It wasn't super fast, which usually can be an issue when you go into whoops. If you're not going fast enough, you kind of get dug down into the whoops and then you end up crashing. But for whatever reason, it handled it great. So I'm hoping for more of the same here on some outdoor stuff. E Street is a track that, obviously, personally, I've never heard of. Being from the UK, there's not too many kind of local American tracks that are on my radar as such. But this is one that is close to home for Kels, so a bunch of you that live around the area, you're probably getting so many like tracks that you actually ride IRL. Apparently this is near MMX, which Kels also released, and there is also an updated MMX layout included with this download. Not in the same like area, you know, not on the same track itself, but as a separate track, which is quite cool. Kind of got like a little 2-in-1 release there. And I remember playing Kels' MMX when it first came out, and the difference in like just to like height map quality from then to now is insane. So I should probably definitely check out the updated version at some point. If you guys have done it, you can let me know how much of an improvement it is over the last one. But straight off the bat, there's no like super tight corners on this track anywhere, but they flow so nicely and smoothly. Like the ruts hold you better than I expected them to, because some of them, they're not like the deepest ruts in the world. Some of them are a little bit shallow, and when you combine it with sand traction, I really expected the back end to be sliding out a lot, but doesn't seem to be the case at all. Now, I am on a 350, not a 450, so in terms of like speed and what bikes this track is suitable for, it's kind of hard to tell, but I'd say the 350 works really well around here right now. There's not any jumps I'm like OJing massively, and one thing that I always say on tracks when I play them for the first time, like these are my very first laps, I've done no warm-up laps or anything around here, is if I can do, like, if I go out and hit like a nice good flowy lap on lap 1 without any major mistakes, then I usually see it as a good thing. Like, sometimes it can mean the track's a little bit too easy, but that's not the case here. I can definitely see where this track could have challenges for some of the newer players, but someone that has now just hit 2,500 hours on this game, it seems to like work and flow really nicely. I like the way he's got the bumps going into some of these corners. It's not like some of the old, like, traditional sand tracks that I mentioned the other day, which I really love, where it's to the point where you're doubling all the way around the entire track. Like there are like specific braking bumps here that you have to kind of blitz the top of. You can't double all over the place, but they're not so aggressive in the way that it really kills all of your momentum. You can keep a lot of speed going around here. You can utilize some of the outsides. I want to try and switch my line up all over the place, because it looks like he's done a very good job in each and every corner of having just more than one like OP viable line. There's some here, like these insides, I think they're always going to be a little bit OP. I feel like it's very hard to avoid that, but I also know in my own experience, well, very, very limited experience, may I add, of track making, that when you're trying to make a replica, a lot of tracks don't translate well over in-game compared to what they do IRL, just because of the nature of how the game handles and how fast you want to go in the game compared to IRL. I will let you guys obviously be the judges of how good of a replica this is, or how much he's changed it to make it fit the game itself. But right now, this is actually... I don't like sand in real life, for whatever reason. Every time I've ever ridden sand, I think it's just because of my riding style. It doesn't mix well with me. But if the track is anything like this, IRL, it kind of makes me want to ride it, which surely that means that he's done a great job. I think the visuals are really, really nice. I like the whole... I want to say, actually, I think I might have made a massive issue. So, yeah, remember what I was saying about the other Mammoth MX track not being part of this area? I lied. It's literally right next to it. I think this is it next to it. I have no idea how I missed that originally. I feel like I think I flew up above the map like this, and I thought it was part of the same track. But that makes a lot more sense now. So if someone has already corrected me in the comments, then I do apologise. The fact that he's gone to the length of making all these custom objects as well, like this water truck, it's one that I used on my track when I was making it. But he's gone through the effort of making his own kind of like livery for it, adding all the earthwork stuff, which is the track making Discord for invite only, by the way. There's been a lot of people asking about if they can join that, and it's not up to me at all. It's kind of like if the owners of it want to invite you, then they will at the end of the day. I like that the pit feels nice and lively. What is this? Is this like the... I was thinking that was like the Tesla Cybertruck at one point, but I don't think it is. But that's an interesting one. What I was saying about the environment, sorry, before I cut away, I like how all this works. Apparently you can drive on this bridge, but you know, it's kind of a long way out of the way just going driving on it, and I don't think that when you're on top of it you could even see over the sides because it's quite tall up. But the general aesthetic, really, really nice. I think it's a pretty track overall. And in terms of like the on-track stuff, one thing that I really struggled with when making my track was going from on track to edge of track to off track. So there's a nice like smooth transition here. It's not just like a solid line separating one from the other. And these are the sort of like finishing touches that I think people really struggle with when it comes to track creating. Like you can make the best height map in the world, but it's then trying to make the track feel like alive that's really difficult. Like anywhere, I could zoom in anywhere around this track, I think, and get like a really nice looking screenshot. It's really well done. This track does boast 40 start gates as well, so you know damn well that it's going to be something that we use in public lobbies in the future. We always seem to be riding a lot of Kel's track these days. I feel like he's kind of becoming the new Fat Muppet in a way, where he creates tracks that all of the beginners to intermediate riders really enjoy playing a lot. And then when it comes to the pro riders, they'll hop on it from time to time for public lobbies and stuff, and still like be able to have some fun. I don't know where Fat Muppet's up to these days. I know he pops by in my live streams and for videos from time to time. I reckon he's probably cooking up something a little bit spicy in the background. So we'll my fingers are crossed for another release from him, because he always releases good work. And it's not meant to be like an insult or anything saying that Curls is becoming the new Fat Muppet. It's a compliment in a way, you know. Loved content creator, moving his way up. That was... Did I do that last lap? I don't know, but that felt really nice. That was very, very satisfying, nice and flowy. I would say, like, so some of you guys stopped by for the Enduro series that we're doing every Thursday of August and watching. I would say that if you've not downloaded these Enduro bikes yet, I'd say give it a go and actually try them on normal tracks as well, because it feels so good. I've had absolutely zero front end issues around this entire track so far. Like no front tucks. The rears stayed nice in line as well. I've had no issues with that. And it's kind of given me a new, like, it's kind of revitalising the game for me. And I'm hoping that when the new OEMs do release with like the updated hill physics and just general changes as well, they kind of give me this sort of feeling. Because this weirdly enough, does take me back to like them beta 16 days where the traction was ridiculously OP. You know, like if you was riding a 250 back in beta 16 on a track like the old Baja track, you didn't have to let go of right trigger. I'm pretty sure you could duct tape the button down and get around the track just fine. Like there was so much traction. And then I remember when beta 17 released with Paboso changing the traction values and such. The game was just so slippery in comparison, and so many people hated it. Luckily for me, that's kind of when I came into my own. You know, I managed to get the Supercross, like 450 Supercross title in that beta 17 era, and I think that's just because I'm okay at throttle control. And I think these days, where the gameplay's gone back to being really, really fast, I think that throttle control gets overshadowed by how well people can hit ruts and bumps, which I'm not quite as good at. So maybe that's why I'm a Supercross guy in general. Just like my 180s and my 90 turns, and then the occasional whoop section. Because I get confused from time to time. I mean, you guys can probably give me your inputs on this to, like, for reasons at least. I think I'm one of the only people that finds Supercross easier to go fast on than outdoors. And I couldn't tell you why. In my opinion, I feel like it's easier because Supercross tracks, they're very, very uniform from one track to another, especially if they're made by the same track creator. You know, the obstacles translate from one track to another. You have your 3-foot singles, your 5-foot singles, you have your triples, and your on-offs, your whoops, and your corners. And if it's the same creator and they've got a Supercross template that they use, that's the same across everything. So I feel like once you grind out one track and you know how to hit all the objects and obstacles, that should work across all of them. And yeah, it's confusing for me how people find motocross easier overall. Because I feel like in motocross, the tracks are always changing depending on the road as much. I mean, in Supercross, the jump faces change a little bit, so you have to like check up or send jumps a bit more. But the corners never really change. A lot of the time you can end up hitting them faster once the arrow's kicked in too, because they kind of hold you in the corner a bit better. But I'd love to know people's thought process on that, on why you particularly struggle with Supercross compared to outdoors, and or vice versa. Maybe if you are like me and you prefer your indoors, then let me know. And I think the majority of the answers will probably just be timing, like you need a bit more timing in Soupy. But I'd argue that you need good timing in outdoors as well, and a lot of the time on particular tracks, if you move your bike like left or right by half a foot compared to the normal line, that can be such a big difference in gaining or losing time as well. So I find it much harder to find the perfect lines in outdoors compared to Soupy, where it's just jump rhythm, so you have to work out. But yeah, there's my little question of the day. Well, I mean, two questions. Which do you prefer, indoors or outdoors? And well, which one do you find easier, and why do you think that is? Very, very interesting though. I think a lot of it might be just due to how much time people spend in each discipline. Obviously, I know a majority of this community are kind of like in the Papiti servers all the time, if like tracks like Forest and Club, and they maybe don't get a massive chance to do Supercross. There's not a whole lot of Supercross tracks that release for free nowadays. Usually they're part of massive compounds, or they're part of the aerial series, which are paid tracks too, so I can understand that you wouldn't be able to get much practice in on them. But I might have even just answered my own question, to be honest. But enough about Supercross and all that random stuff. This track, really, really good fun. Have I actually crashed yet at all during this recording? I don't know if I have. I've got the road on 1.2, and after 5 laps, you can see we're already starting to build up some pretty nice ruts. Like, they seem to hold you really well. Not taking this middle line yet though. The jumps, they are not difficult jumps by any means, and if you're really starting to feel some sort of rhythm and flow, you can really like scrub it hard too. And I don't know how much of this is down to just the track like being built and flowing really nicely, and how much is down to me now trying these enduro bikes. So it's a bit of a tough one, but again, definitely try them both. I 100% recommend it. I would say in terms of flow and fun, I think this could be Kels's best work yet, which kind of backs up what I've been seeing people saying about it, whether it's in Discord or on the mods post too. So definitely give it a go. Thank you, Kels, as well, for still continuing to provide us with not only high quality tracks, but free-to-play tracks as well. I know that, like, again, 95% of the community do really appreciate that. I know that not everyone has invested enough time in the game to warrant like buying tracks all the time. So I know a lot of people I think, really respect the creators that still do it just for the joy of it as well. So massive shout out to you. Massive shout out to you guys for watching as well, especially. And let me know your thoughts on the track, because you've done a good job in replicating it to real life. Do you ride here in real life? I will say that when I first saw the name of it pop up on mods, I saw E Street. The first thing that came to my head, because I'm a bit of a like Walking Dead fanatic, I guess you could say, like absolutely love the TV show. This is probably going to be a reference goes over most people's heads, but I want to say kind of halfway through the seasons, there's a series where one of the main characters gets like captured and he's held in like a jail cell for ages and ages and ages, and they just keep replaying this one song over and over and over again, and the song is called Easy Street. I'm not going to sing it. You should definitely go and find it yourself. If you listen to it once, it's actually like a fine song, like happy, jolly song. If you have to listen to that on repeat, you'd probably want to like unalive yourself. It's not great. It would definitely grind your gears. But that's the first thing I thought of when I saw E Street. I just thought of Easy Street straight away. But that's going to do it for me for this video and my random ramblings. I apologise that I've kind of been straying away from my kind of daily uploads recently. I've just been having a little bit of a creative block, so I'm going to try my best. I want to record 1 or 2 videos like today, just to give me a little bit of leeway so that I can try and get a little bit more creative. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully get back on the horse, hopefully start live streaming a bit more, because at the moment I've only been streaming races rather than public stuff for you guys to get involved on, so I do apologise. Yeah, let's get back into the swing of things. Please do drop a like, comment, all that good stuff, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and have a lovely rest of the day. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.